Good everyone. I hope you guys have an amazing day. So in the previous episode, I briefly touched about some of the admin essentials for PSS. Now I'm gonna touch upon a little bit more in this episode so that we can close this off before we move on to talk about the approval process and other good things. So as usual, right? License management is one of the biggest, well, not I won't say biggest, right? One of the important modules of PSS, right? And you have business license, you have individual license, right? So usually in every uh, process, right, or in every functional requirement which you get from a customer, there might be a need to create your own record type based on the business process you're going to define, right? Business application. What kind of business application? Is that for the medical facility, or is that for a spa, or is that for a restaurant, right? So you might have to work on a record type a bit, right? And then comes to an individual. Are you looking for a dental license, or are you looking for a nurse, or are you looking for a carpentry license, or a hair salon stylist license, or whatever, right? So you might have to build your own record type. Usually, PSs won't come with lots of record types, right? I mean, the record type which you need. So that's one of the things you might be interested, because before you even start handing over this software, or other words, the Salesforce login to different users, right? Because users don't care. I mean, at the end of the day, for them, it's a different learning curve. So, and they wanted to make sure that they find it easier, right? I have seen in the past, based on my experience, migrating user from a different uh, product line to Salesforce, they often compare Salesforce with how they used to do the stuff in the past. Maybe they might be an SAP users. They might think, okay, the usual thing is the keyboard, right? So if you are training a person who is so used to doing everything with keyboard, they will expect something similar behavior when it comes to sales. Otherwise, they will be very reluctant to learn a new product. That's often seen it, and it's a human nature, right? Because change is difficult for a lot of people. Even at times, I sometimes struggle with certain things which I get overwhelmed, right? So it's very important that you as an admin, before you hand over the stuff to do to your trainers or users, you set up the right record type, see what is important. That's becomes an admin responsibility. So for instance, if I go to setup, so like I said, I'm using a trial PSS org, so I have everything set up for me. In your case, it uh, may not be the case, right? So you go to the scarecrow icon, go to setup. I mean, I appreciate that this is going to be a very simple video. You might say, hey, look, I know this things, right? I understand you know that, right? But at times, even after knowing a lot of things, we might tend to miss it, right? It happened to me. It happens to the best of us, right? Okay, so you go to Object Manager, and one thing I do want you to think about when you go to say any object, let's in this case, so I'm going to go for business license, and you might see that the record type, you have this one, fire permit, you know permit type. At times, let's say you are a business who wants to deal with who say a health practitioner, right? So you might create something called health license type. But at the same time, if you realize that, let's say we don't do fire permit, we don't do reopening permit. If you think it's not getting used, you can delete it, right? That's something you need to have in place. How do you deal with unused metadata, right? That should be a part of your a governance process. And if you're an admin, it's often good to talk to an architect maybe solution architect or technical architect, whoever you have, to understand the governance process around deleting a unused metadata. It's important. So at the same time, let's say you're building a record type, it's important to document it, the reason why you are doing it, and what business problem you're trying to solve. Because the record types is essential when you're driving a business process, right? And so it's often important to document that. So I'm just telling you as a part of admin essentials, which you would have known already, and you might be doing it already, which is fantastic. But still, I would like to, reiterate. Now, you can do the same for, what's that called? Uh, Visit. So you have a visit object, and if you wanted to create a record type, there's no visit, so you might, depending upon the use case you might have, right? GP visit, or which is something different, or hair salon visit, something different, right? You can do that. And you also, if you wanted to have an individual, no, sorry, here, these are the internal users I'm talking about, right? The people who will have access to internal Salesforce org. I'm not talking about, in this case, an external facing user, right? Like your guest user, or let's say, for instance, I want to apply for, say, a beer license, just making this up, a liquor license, right? I won't be going into the Salesforce and logging in, right? Because I am a user. I don't know what Salesforce is, so I would expect to go to a website and log in there and do whatever I wanted to do. So I'll come to that. That's something you can do using Experience Cloud. So there are templates which Salesforce gives you as a part of PSS. You can you can leverage that to build your external facing site. Yeah, sorry, I spoken too soon, but what I'm trying to do here is that I'm trying to do the individual. I can't spell. My apologies. Individual application. Like I said, I wanted to apply for a liquor license, right? Or I wanted to apply for, say, for instance, a nurse license, which is individual license. You can go here to the record type, and you can see here, right, or the barber license, right? You have physician license, or you have the nurse license, or if you wanted to apply for a permit, you can do that, vehicle registration. So you can do that based on the business process you're trying to solve. Yeah. So for instance, if the PSS is getting used in a transport agency, you won't see the barber license, or physician license, right? Why do you need a physician? For license to be catered under, in if you're looking after the transportation side, like the cars and registrations, right? So obviously the record type will be very different. And as usual, like I said, right, it's always important to maintain it, uh, document it somewhere. Okay, now I briefly touched upon the external facing side, right, which is very important because we are talking about PSS, right? um, Public sector solution, and it means you're talking about public, and they won't be you logging into your Salesforce. They are not your internal customers. Yes, internal customers will be who work in your agency, like for instance the transport agencies, right? The people who work for transport agency can log into Salesforce, view the stuff, and do kind of things, right? So that's are your internal users. I'm talking about external user, your customer, like who wants to request for um, license renewal, right? Wanted to apply for a license, apply for vehicle registration, right? Uh, so they might be expecting a kind of a portal or a client-facing website, maybe a single page or a multi-page, right? Where they can go and log in, or if they sometimes they don't have to log in, all they have to do fill in all the right information and apply, right? The login helps because you can look at the status of your application, and if say for instance the case officer looking at, let's say, for your vehicle registration application might want to leave a feedback, might request for more documentation, they can do that using a portal, right? Instead of, so that's why it's important you can register for it. But I'm just giving a scenario. So we are in the org, yeah. So I'll quickly show you some of the outer box how it looks like. So now you go to site under digital experience. Um, so if I go to new, right? Let's say I want to start fresh, and I'll show you some of the out of box templates so you understand what I'm talking about. So if you're looking for, let's say, a licensing stuff, right? You can use this license and permit. This is by Salesforce. It's something what we normally talk in the PSS. Yeah. You can do if you wanted to build a partner center, you can do that. And if you are an agency who look after the grants, then you can obviously use the grant making template, right? You or other things what you can do, you can create your own template and publish it so that your team can use it. That also you can do. um, I've created a course on Experience Cloud. I mean, perhaps a year ago. um, and the intention to do that to help people get certified on Experience Cloud certification. And I have people reaching out to me said my free course has helped them to get certified. So if you're interested, if you're someone looking for who is planning to take Experience Cloud um, certification, right? And if you're looking for some kind of a YouTube tutorial or a in a more structured way, we'll cover from A to Z what you need to know for the course. Then I think my free course will help you. Look, it's not a sales pitch because I'm not selling you anything, right? It's a free thing. I'm just because I made it so I can help people. That's the main reason why I do YouTube videos, so I can help it, right? It's not that yes, I do have paid codes. I do have few architecture codes. Making one data architect. I've been a bit slow on that, and people have reached out. A few people have reached out to me wondering when I'll be releasing my course, uh, which is a paid course, and I normally don't charge much for the course, like $35 in 2024. You pay $35, you go for a meal, especially in New Zealand, for a family of two, you end up spending $100, right? So I find it a bit hard for people to understand they can't spend $35 to get them certified, which will help them find better employment, right? Which can make like 100 140K a year. So that's why I find it sometimes, and I understand people from certain countries, they say, look, I cannot afford a course. So my question to them, right? eh, That's fine, right? I understand that, right? I often give stuff for free, but would you work for someone for free? If I tell you, hey, come and work for me for free, I can't afford to pay you, you won't work, right? So the expectation is that you need to you need to respect the labor of a person, right? Just because it's not visible doesn't mean that person should be given for free. That's why I never give up my book for free. Why should I give my book for free, right? um, so people have money to buy iPhone even though they're from countries which they cannot afford it. But I find it very difficult to comprehend they cannot invest the money for their own growth, which is a bit silly to me. But I think it's a culture thing, which I really don't want to get into it. My apologies, because I'm a Jewish man. We believe one thing, right? We don't spend money unless we think it adds the value, right? But when we think it adds value, we don't care about the price. We go and spend it. That's I mean that's like I said, right? I didn't really want to bring any culture stuff, but I'm seeing a trend. I'm seeing a pattern, right? People have reached out to me so many times. Can you give my course for free? I said, dude, I just gave you for $35. In New Zealand, there are courses where people charge 2 grand, 3 grand, 5 grand for a course, right? And compare that to $35 course, which you can, which you will have access for 2 years, right? So yeah. whatever. Um, sorry I digress. My sincere apologies, I digress. Um, so go to installed, you can see the other stuff. So obviously, if you wanted to do the employee workspace, you can do that as well, right? Now, let me show you how the portal looks like if you are building something for the licensing one, right? Now, I will go back, yeah, and uh, okay, that was a bit weird. Okay, now I will choose this builder, LPI, and I'll show you the preview, right? This is how it looks like, right? You can use this template to build something for you if you're like a transport agency. You can customize it. Like, I mean, this is something you can do. If you don't like it, you can build your own, right? Depends. So you can use that as a base template to build on top of it, or if you don't like, you know, you can use something else. So this is the basic admin stuff I wanted to cover to give you an idea what is it out of box you can do and what are the things you can customize. All right, you can use Omni Studio component here and Experience Cloud. I've seen people using it. I haven't done development for almost a year now because, like I said, right, I've told you many times, especially in the Salesforce platform, I haven't done development. I'm doing development in different tech stack, but not exactly much in Salesforce because I'm an architect. I do POC, but not much. Like I recommend product. I'll work off. I look after the platform maturity, right? The frameworks to what I need to recommend, security aspect of it, quality standards, governance, data governance, um, these kind of things. I look at it in my day-to-day activity in one of the government agencies I'm involved at this stage. So, yep, that's all I wanted to cover in this episode. Hope you guys have an amazing Friday. Adios.